Uh,
All right. Here comes Cherry. I'm
so for
silencing everyone. Good morning, Cherry.
Good
for our
morning.
opening reading, I've taken a selection from Miguel Unamuno, who is a Spanish philosopher, and it's a translation by Robert Bly. It's called "Throw Yourself Like a Seed." And in my counseling practice, I use being a sower, the parable of the sower from the Bible, as the way we have to approach our lives, and that is that I am 100% in charge of the input. I'm zero in control of what happens after the seeds leave my hands. And of course, we're always looking for the results, and we take it personally when we don't get the results that we want. We really have no control, as Scripture says. Some of the seed lies on stony ground, never bears fruit. Some grows, starts growing, gets choked out by weeds. Some of it flourishes. Um, that's not in our control. And so he's going to use our lives as sowing, putting ourselves into that work. But what he's also reminding us in doing so, I'll let you see as we go ahead. So we've been dealing with grieving, which is something that we're all familiar with, particularly at those of us that are in the third stage of our lives. And he says, shake off this sadness, and recover your spirit. Sluggish, you will never see the wheel of fate that brushes your heel as it goes turning by. The man who wants to live is the man in whom life is abundant. Now you're only giving food to that final pain, which is slowly winding you into the nets of death. But to live is to work, and the only thing that lasts is the work. Start then and turn to your work. Throw yourself like a seed as you walk, and into your own field. Don't turn your face, for that would be to turn to death. And do not let the past weigh down your motion. Leave what's alive in the furrow and what's dead in yourself. For life does not move in the same way as a group of clouds. From your work, you will be able one day to gather yourself. Okay. So what's he saying? I like that line. Leave what's alive in the furrow. Sow your spirit. Spread it, broadcast it. Leave what's dead in the past, as he said. Don't turn back to it. Turning back to the past, turning back towards death and regret. Uh, so grieving is the process by which we let go of what's dead in ourselves and move towards what's still alive. Many of us get trapped in our grief work. Robert Bly, not Robert Bly, uh, Jack Cornfield says, most often, opening the heart begins by opening to a lifetime accumulation of unacknowledged sorrow, both our personal sorrows and the universal sorrows of warfare, hunger, old age, illness, and death. So ask yourself, how much is your heart weighed down with that litany? At times, we may experience this sorrow physically as contractions and barriers around our heart. But more often, we feel the depths of our wounds, our abandonment, our pain as unshed tears. The Buddhists describe this as an ocean of human tears larger than the four great oceans. As we take the one seat and develop a habit of meditative attention, the heart presents itself naturally for healing. The grief we had carried for so long from pains and dashed expectations and hopes arises. We grieve for our past traumas and our present fears, for all of the feelings that we'd never dared experience consciously. Whatever shame or unworthiness we have within us arises. Much of our early childhood and our family pain, the mother and father wounds that we hold, the isolation, any past abuse, physical or sexual, are all stored in the heart. Jack Engler, a Buddhist teacher and psychologist at Harvard, has described meditation practice as primarily a practice of grieving and letting go. At most of the spiritual retreats I've been a part of, nearly half the students are working with some level of grief, denial, anger, loss, or sorrow. And out of this grief work comes a deep renewal. Oscar Wilde wrote, "Hearts are meant to be broken." And I love that line. It reminds me that when my heart is broken, that's not something that's wrong. That's a natural part of having a heart. It goes from full to broken. No problem. Unless I only want the heart to stay open, then it's a problem. So as we heal through meditations, our hearts break open to feel fully. Powerful feelings, deep, unspoken parts of ourselves arise, and our task in meditation is first to let them move through us, and then to recognize them and allow them to sing their songs. As a poem by Wendell Berry illustrates, I go among trees and sit still. All my stirrings become quiet around me like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. And then what I'm afraid of comes, and I live for a while in its sight. What I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. And what we find as we listen to the songs of our rage or fear, our loneliness or longing, is that it does not stay forever. Rage turns to sorrow, sorrow turns to tears, tears may fall for a long time, but then the sun comes out. A memory of old loss sings to us, our body shakes and relives the moment of loss. And then the armoring around the loss gradually softens. And in the midst of the song of tremendous grieving, the pain of that loss finally finds release. So this is right at a point where things get confusing for people, because is meditation practice therapy? No, it's not. Is meditation practice therapeutic? Absolutely. So we're hearing a lot these days about spiritual bypassing and about avoiding spiritual bypassing. But the depth of that bypassing is often ignored because it's really an entire lifetime, as he hints, that we've been doing this. So as we're beginning to approach this dimension below physical sensations to that layer of Vedana, the sensations of contraction and expansion in response to what's going on, we need to look at the fact that this is where the signals of grieving come from. They come from our body tissues, sending signals to our mind that we have things that are unresolved that need our attention. So I want to read you something that, again, I'll hand this out to my clients about shame. I think we need to get past trying to blame our parents and our environment for our traumas of childhood, because I think Sheldon Kopp says it best. Childhood is hell, pure and simply hell. And why is it hell? It's hell because we come into the world so innocent. so open, so unprotected, and the world is so intense and so complicated that immediately we begin to constrict against the pain. You can see this in a child. You'll lay a child on a bed and it'll be and open like this, and you go boom and just bump the bed beside it, and what does it do? The startle response. Shoulders go back, arms go out, legs go out. And if you look at that, that's the tension pattern you have in your body that starts back there with your shoulders up in your ears, everything tensed. The other thing is shame, and what happens with shame is that we collapse inward. We collapse our shoulders in to protect our heart, our midsections. We double up instead of showing our hearts, which is why I open my heart to the world. I choose voluntarily to take whatever pain is going to come today and know that I can process it. But we still need to go back. Everyone goes, oh, I had a happy childhood. I go, bullshit. If you really believe that, you're in a profound denial. It's not about whether your parents were nice to you or you had friends. It's really a different level, and this points to it. When you were a young child, you were pure love. You were happy, you were alive, you were free, you were ventral. This is the essence of who you are. This is your natural state. What teachers call your natural mind, your beginner mind. But unfortunately, you were born into a world that suppressed this state. Instead of being born into a world that's loving and supportive, you were born into a world that is critical and harsh. Before long, you experienced invalidation, rejection, painful losses of love. You felt this hurt from your parents, your friends, the world around you. And as a child, the only way you could explain this loss of love was to blame yourself. In a moment of hurt, you decided that you were worthless. And it goes like this: something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong with me, because children have an innocent narcissism. The monkey mind is operating and filtering everything through it's about me. And so they take responsibility for everything that goes wrong and takes them as a sign of their personal failures. You began to interpret the world as that somehow you were not good enough, that you were worthless, not worth loving, a failure, or in some other way not okay. This wasn't the truth, but in the eyes of your child, it became your truth. What you repeated to yourself as a child is what became your truth. It's the only explanation that could make sense. The world's too complicated to understand, and the simplicity of blaming yourself is such an elegant solution. But then you began to hate this notion that you created. No one can ever love me. I'm worthless. Worthless is a horrible way to be. And the moment you buy into this notion that you're not okay, you create an internal mechanism or core issue that will sabotage the rest of your life. From that moment on, the underlying focus of your life will be to avoid this hurt of not feeling okay. A good way to see this hurt, and this is where our meditation is going to focus today, is to notice what happens the minute you get upset. In your daily life, let's say you drop something, break a glass that you prize. What happens in you at that moment? Do you go, oh, well, it's just a glass? Or do you go, that was stupid, what the hell is wrong with you? Or do you get mad at somebody else? Why did you put that up there like that? You're going to begin to see this core mechanism operating, that constriction against reality, that loss of that beginner mind. Notice the immediate, this is the hurt that runs your life. You may never notice this hurt, but it's there, and it determines your actions. It shapes your life. So this avoidance at almost a cellular level in your body forces you to interact in ways that create all kinds of additional suffering. Whenever something comes along to reactivate this hurt, you feel threatened. an instinct to attempt to avoid this hurt. You fight and you resist. So in avoidance of this, as soon as that tension begins to go, I begin to go to war at myself and the world. Pema Chodron says we begin to blame either ourselves or we lash out at the world. And we need to catch this early in that initial constricting and then watch how all the problems in our life fall out from this conditioning from our childhood. Whenever something comes along to reactivate this hurt, we feel threatened. This automatic fighting and resistance creates a state of fear and upset that destroys your effectiveness and always makes your situation worse. This is the traumatized mind. This is the effort to control. My instinctive response is not to simply feel the discomfort, let that energy move through, let myself heal, see that this is my child and not my adult. This has been with me for a long time. And instead, I externalize. I try to control the outside world. I get tunnel vision. I fight, resist, hang on, or withdraw. And this state of resisting then destroys love. It creates opposition and resistance against yourself. Instead of your life working, you make your life more difficult. Without knowing it, you interact in a way that actually creates more of the very suffering you're trying to avoid. So the Buddha, as I said in my note, was all about suffering and an end to suffering. This instinctive response is suffering. It's how it originates. So as we go into our meditations today, I'm going to encourage you to reflect back on instances recently where you got upset. Now, it may not be upset about things that you did or even the people around you, what they did. It could be upset about what's going on in the world situation. It could be about your getting upset with other people, because next week I'm going to talk about how our innocent narcissism causes us to become people pleasers and rescuers. We go out into the world to save everybody. So you're going to feel this in response to what happens with other people. So there are a lot of us who this is going to be about going to war to save other people because we don't even think we're worth saving. So we're trying to rescue everybody else, or we're locked down on ourselves and trying to protect ourselves against the pain of the world. It doesn't matter which way the control is going. We have to simply handle it at a level of energy. What happens to my energy? So the poet's given us this example that if I turn to my past and I dwell in my past in a therapeutic kind of way, all I'm doing is creating more death, more pain, more suffering. But if I begin to watch the energy and I say, what's blocking my energy? Where am I feeling this in my body? And I begin to pay attention and I begin to encourage those blocks to soften, to open up, to soften my heart. It's interesting that the number one sin in the Old Testament, how many of you know number one sin of the Old Testament? Hardening your heart. Isn't that elegant? You see it. Pharaoh hardened his heart against the people of Israel. He stopped being compassionate. Hardened his heart. We've hardened our bodies against the world unintentionally, and we're still in a state of denial to the extent of which we've been hurt, that we carry wounds, that our energy is blocked. So begin to think about this discomfort. See if you can find where it is in your body. When you find it, breathe into it and soften around it. Give it space to expand. Give it the attention it wants. Like I say, pay attention to your own hurt the way you would want other people to pay attention to your hurt. Some insight I had just a few months ago. Create the environment in your own mind, self-compassion, that you've been trying to get your, hey, why don't you talk to me like this? Why don't you come at me like this? Well, come at yourself the way that you want other people to. Quit trying to get it from them Sit here and see if you can give it to yourself and the pain that you carry this morning on the cushion. Whether it's current, whether it's old, doesn't matter. Just open up the flow and let's go, okay? So letting your awareness come to your breath. And with the inhale, draw your awareness to your heart. Allow your awareness to be soft, non-judgmental. Even approaching your heart with the idea of healing as a form of judgment. Nothing to cure, no illness. But a pain worthy of your compassion. Feeling any barriers or constrictions and allowing them to soften. Feeling the pressure of what wants to escape, pushing outward. Feeling the unconscious resistance holding it in. And just stopping the maintaining that active curiosity of the beginner mind. Consciously choosing to open to what you've previously been unconsciously in denial about. Let yourself be aware of the fact that right now, this moment, you're safe, you're protected, you're in the company of like-minded people supporting you in this journey. And allow all the unconscious hypervigilance, all the compulsive meaning making, all the efforts to control, all of which are based on fear, that child unconsciously trying to prove their worth. Know that you're worthy. And know that what's blocking your seeing, your beauty and your goodness is your constant efforts to prove yourself worthy. Establishing the connection between the mind and the heart. Creating the state of bodhicitta, the enlightened mind, the compassionate heart, awakened heart. And within this safe umbrella, revisit the things that have upset you this week. Not in a critical way, but in a way that invites you to reinterpret and re-experience it. What things in the news upset you this week? And as you bring it to mind, notice what happens in your body. The immediate constriction, the effort to push these feelings away. Without blaming yourself or calling this a neuroses or problem or sin. See it as your body's natural response to something painful that hurts your little baby heart. War, poverty, domestic violence, social injustice. Feel your body's response to those things. Now think about interactions that you've had with other people that upset you, that angered you, disappointed you, hurt you in some way. And as you replay the events, feel the response in your body. How instantaneously the resistance emerged without thought. And now turn towards your own behavior and look at times where your self-judgment turned on yourself for a mistake that you made, or a way that you inadvertently harmed someone, or the way you failed to live up to your own expectations. And again, as you revisit these moments, feel what happens. The way that there's that tightening in the jaw, the buttocks, in the brow, the shoulders, the scalp, the gut, the chest. What is the body pattern? Again, noticing that each of these moments is a grief, a a loss of safety, a loss of control, a loss of illusion. And that in our haste to respond, we lose the opportunity to feel compassion for our tenderness, our vulnerability, our courage, our goodness. And feel what happens as you open your heart to yourself. Open your heart to your own vulnerability. Your desires to ease your pain and the pain of others. See how the more you focus on trying to control and avoid the pain, the less effective you become in living spontaneously and with joy, with love, with peace, the way you want to. Seeing that the strategy developed before you were even aware of what you were doing has been operating all your life. Now giving yourself the care and understanding it takes to break those old patterns, to free yourself from your conditioning one breath at a time, liberating your spirit, which is the primary liberation movement that needs to happen. Freedom from bondage to the past and the self.
Can I share something?
Sure. Go ahead.
I notice, so when I'm moving through my kind of daily life and something comes up, in the form of a narrative or storyline in my head and the associated tightening in my body, but the activity I'm doing is, making the kids breakfast or doing bookkeeping or whatever, my tendency lately has been to kind of say to that voice, okay, like I hear you, but not now. We got to talk later, you know. But I have trouble later when I do want to go and meditate or sit with what's coming up. I have a tendency to numbness, and when it's finally time to have that, to create that space around it, it doesn't want to come sometimes, oftentimes. And I wonder if you can speak to.
You know, I speak to damn near anything. That's what I do best. Not that it makes any sense, but I'll take a stab at it. Okay. The common element in everything you're talking about is the present moment. Okay. So whether you're dealing with your kids or whether you're sitting on your cushion, you're still in what? The present moment. Now, that intrusion of the thoughts, the intrusive thoughts as they're coming up when you're dealing with your children are trying to take you out of the present moment. But they're just energy. So what would happen if instead of giving them attention and thinking we need to understand them, which is therapy, you simply experience it as energy that wants to be expressed that I'm unconsciously blocking? Does that make any sense? So that what I can do is to feel that constriction, breathe into it, and just let it go. And has anybody else ever done this? Practice this? What happens when you do that? When you breathe into your body, you let it go, and instead you stay present to your kids. That's the work he's talking about. Put yourself into what's in front of you to be done, this present moment, and let go of the tensions. What happens, Woody? You're nodding your head, so you're caught.
Sometimes I'm able to do it, and sometimes I'm able to do it for 1 second, and the intrusive thoughts are right back.
Okay, but
sometimes they go away, but it's a practice. It's a practice.
They what?
It's a practice.
It's a practice. So do you feel that increase of energy and presence that happens when you let go of the constriction?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What you're going to find is it's immediate, Casey. It's not going to happen later on, okay, where I have to dredge it up. That's the present moment asking for release. So if you think of it as trapped energy that simply needs to be released, you've got the present moment awareness to do it right there, all right? Then I get on my cushion, I try to recreate it. That's a kind of artificial construct. Instead of looking for the thought, look for where the tension's in your body right now, and do exactly the same thing. Find where the tension is, breathe into it, soften to it, and let it release. Okay? So we've been conditioned, literally brainwashed by the therapy industry to think that healing involves understanding what happened, process, dealing with it means confronting people, all this kind of stuff. It means dragging out old ideas, understanding them, reformulating ideas. And the beauty of what's happened with trauma work is we've come to understand none of that needs to happen, but that what's happening in the body does need to be addressed. And that's what we haven't been addressing in therapy. We haven't been addressing the fact that this stuff is living at the level of an unconscious tightening in the fascia in response to habitual signals from outside, and that even those voices that are coming up are being triggered by that energy, trying to be processed by the brain, but we're processing it through the traumatized part of our brain. We're not taking the time to come into this bigger field of compassion and then processing not as a thought or an emotion, but as as an energy that needs to be released.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
That is really helpful. That really makes sense. And can you remind me, like, so I know, if it feels like a really big feeling or it's causing a lot of tightening and tension, I know you can kind of shake your hands and move your body. You can breathe. You can stick your hands in ice water if you've got it. Sing.
Go
Am I
walk.
covering? Walk. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Walking is one of the best. One of my favorite people is Kelly McGonigal, who's a neuroscientist at Stanford, and they asked her what the most significant development in neuroscience was, and she said the discovery that when you exercise, you release hope molecules, you release endogenous endorphins that will automatically begin to help you feel better, and it will also help to shift you ventral. So we're learning these kinds of hacks that can send you ventral. Now, still, what's the danger in that for spiritual bypassing? Some of us are becoming so skilled at manipulating our neurotransmitters that we're numbing the pain rather than experiencing the pain. So the purpose of that is not to avoid, is to get it back to a manageable level. So think of regulating to the point that I'm still experiencing some discomfort, just like putting people on SSRIs. You don't want to get people numb. You want them still processing their emotions. So it's the same way here. You don't want to self-regulate to the point of numbness or of bliss, being blissed out all the time. But again, keep letting those unconscious tensions soften. And yeah. Anybody else? Great question. Right on point.
It's really nice. And one thing your poems and your readings do is give me the vocabulary. Not that I never heard the words before, but give me the vocabulary to understand. Like I knew the other day, when I was doing the music as medicine thing that I do, is actually it's movement as medicine, that that what I was lacking was self-compassion due to the way I move or don't move right now. But I didn't know why, and it's not important to know why, but it is nice to know. It's because I feel so vulnerable.
Yes.
And I didn't have that peace until today. So you don't need to know why something's happening, but it's nice to know because sometimes you can address it differently, I think.
Yes, I agree with that. So with my people, what I do is we'll unpack stuff so they can see that there's a reason why and say, okay, you've lived so long. If we went back and unpacked everything that emerges, all you'd do is have your head in your past, never be able to get out of it. And I'd quite frankly rather live today and kind of like to let the past heal through that. But I love what you said. We're in a spirituality group with Dorothy, and a bunch of us are a part of that. Corinna's a part, and Talbot's a part of that. And one of the things that it said a couple of weeks ago is that when you get upset and you don't know what's going on, to go to the level of sixth chakra, to go to the level of symbols, and that's where the poets live. And the line that stuck to me, because the first time I read it, it said, well, that's wrong. I can't read that. Leave what's alive in the furrow, what's dead in yourself, okay? And I first read that and thought he meant leave what's dead in yourself and only give away what's good. That would be a horrible thing to do. So I'm going, I've got to edit that out. But I was misreading it. Because what he's saying is, Leave what's alive in the furrow and leave what's dead in yourself. Leave what's dead in yourself, not leave what's dead in yourself, but
Leave
leave
it.
what's dead in yourself.
Yeah, boy.
Grieve it. Yeah, grieve it. Leave that as you're sowing of this stuff in the present. So, yeah.
I'm afraid maybe I'm missing my sixth chakra, so I need the poems.
Okay. That's why I read them. I do too. Hansa?
So Bartle, no, this is exactly reflects on what you're saying, but it's Bart, you'll know the person who said it, but the bottom line is you live into the answer. Sometimes we think we have to have the answer. Is that Renee Wilk?
Yes.
Yeah. But the end of her saying is live into the answer. Let what's there come up. And so what you were saying, Woody, is we want to know right away. We want instantaneous gratification. But what is amazing is when you learn something and then later on you realize, wow, I acted differently around this.
Mhm.
And
And
that's the gift, is to stay aware of how it's changed your life.
that's what I call spontaneous healing. And I noticed in therapy that often my healing was not around the things I was trying to address in the therapy, but that other things I would spontaneously start doing that I've never done before that were healthy. And you remind me, this one says, live into the, what was it?
Questions.
Is live into the questions,
Uh-huh.
which is Rilke, the
Yes,
poet.
that's what she was saying.
And so this is exactly what Pema means by the uncertainty, the vulnerability, this state that we're avoiding, that's actually the state that empowers us, because we equate vulnerability with getting hurt. We equate having an answer with being able to control my environment so I don't get hurt. We think that we're doing it for noble things, needing to be in control. No, needing to be in control is the exact opposite of faith. It's that I don't trust life. I don't trust myself. I have to control everything. That's a horrible way to live.
Thank you, Bart. This was so good. This is exactly where I am. We've talked about it before. Whatever because I'm aging or whatever, it seems like every time I turn around, I'm grieving over something. And I'm not used to that.
I know.
I'm not used. And now it feels like I'm running for, like, a thought will come into my head and then it's like, no. And I'm running from it.
Yep. So it's good that you see that, see?
It's like, no, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, this was good. Thank you.
So come next week, because actually you're talking about what this week was supposed to be about. I don't know how I got sidetracked, but Linnell and I were both in tears yesterday about all our friends and how we want to help and we want to make their lives better, but we're totally feeling overwhelmed by all the pain in their lives. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. That also is rooted in this childhood narcissism. So I'll tie that together. And so this is all ways of keeping from being overwhelmed from the simple reality of death and illness. It's because our whole culture has taught us that there's something wrong if that happens. You know, it's like in the medical profession, if someone doesn't get better, we want to sue them. If someone makes a mistake in surgery, we want to sue them. Someone's got to be to blame. We've got to go to court. We've got to assess that. There's no sense of tragedy. There's no sense of accident. There's no sense of human frailty of being a factor in the way we live. And that's just horrible. It's just so horrible way to live. So there's
Well,
a
I've
different
been
way.
in the same place, Beth. I've been in the same place, and the aging is not for wimps.
Absolutely not. So,
And it is tough. It is tough every damn day.
oh,
You
when
know,
did Tiffany get
something's
in?
going on. Tiffany must be in a different, Tiffany's in a different time zone.
I am. I was late.
See you
I
come
was looking
in.
at the wrong clock. I'm in Denver though.
I know. I thought when you came in, I thought, oh,
Oh
she
shit.
forgot she's in a different
I
time.
did. I was
Oh,
looking at the wrong clock. I missed it today.
well,
Oh, we
you're
But
missed
I'm
you
in
fortunate.
too.
but I'm in time to wow, and that's what's most important, right?
That's right.
Well, have fun with everybody tonight.
I know.
Well,
We are so jelly. We're going to have fun with our Sangha in this part of the world.
So
yeah,
So,
what?
we're gonna figure out how to hang out in 2027.
yeah, yeah, we're all celebrating.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You come
You
hang out
just
with me,
missed
Bart.
Hansa. She just had to
Yeah.
leave early, Tiffany.
Yeah, yeah. No, I heard what she was sharing. I did hear what
Oh,
she was
good,
sharing.
good.
So yeah,
So
yeah. Looking forward to seeing you tonight, Tommy.
I
Same
want,
here.
okay,
Just
I need to
fantastic.
get us out of here, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Because we're already late. One of the things to keep people from feeling excluded by other members of the Sangha getting together, I want us to think about possibly getting together as a whole and having a retreat somewhere. My first mentor pastor was a man named Hunter Leggett at Beverly Unitarian Church in Chicago, and he and his wife have a retreat center now in Berrien County, Michigan. That was the first church that I served. Second church I served was in Berrien County, and that fellowship is still there. But they got a beautiful place, and we might want to think about the whole group getting together for a week and enjoying each other's presence. So if that's something you would like to do, let one of us know, and we'll begin to put it in process. Okay?
Awesome. That
I mean,
sounds
I would hate
wonderful.
to see what kind of spiritual force we might generate. One specific location, it could be. I know it will be life-changing for us. I don't know whether it will change life. Okay, my friend.
All right. Deep breath in.
Wow.
Wow.
Love you all.
Love you
Yeah,
more.
have a good week.
Thank you all.
See you next week. Hi, Drew.
Yeah.
Bye, Drew.
Have fun tonight.
Good
We
to see
will.
you. Good time
You
tonight.
guys. Bye.
Bye.